Hi.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing, Mandela?
Good. I'm doing well. Yeah, just trying to make sure that everything is good and set up. How's the audio? How's the video? How's the internet quality? It's all
Ev-
okay.
Everything's great over here. You can see and hear me too. Yeah.
I can see and hear you too. Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, you know, much appreciated just to, even just to hop on a call anyway and just, chat and, joke around, let alone talk about you guys and all the above. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Um
I'm excited. It's nice to like kind of more meet you almost in person.
yeah.
Almost.
We're doing what we can out here,
Sort
at least right now.
of. Totally.
But yeah, kind of to begin with, do you mind just telling us a little bit, kind of both, and you can start with whatever, either your kind of story and how you got into specialty coffee and how you ended up at Little Waves, and or also at some point just a little bit about Little Waves in general and when that started. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think I'll start with the larger, like, Little Wave story, which is totally tied into the Cocoa Cinnamon story, which is where I am right now.
Yeah.
I'm at one of our Cocoa Cinnamon Cafe locations. So yeah, the everything kind of starts from Bike Coffee. The two owners, Leon and Areli, they started as this kind of modified bike, doing pour overs and selling coffees at the Durham Farmers Market, and like creating a community presence, and then starting the first cafe in 2013. And then since expanding to three cafes that are all here in Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm at the second one, but the second and the third kind of came back to back. And the third one is where our roasting location is. So
Okay.
it's still a cafe. We serve drinks and do churros there and all of that,
Yeah.
but it also has a little space set aside for us to roast in, because the roasting, like doing our own roasting, was always kind of part of the the vision ultimately. So
Yeah.
that location started in 2017, and that's when Little Waves Coffee started. So they're truly like the same business, but Little Waves is the roasting arm of the business, and it helps to not have a coffee roaster where all of the bags say cocoa cinnamon on it, because then that gets really confusing with the tasting notes and all of that. So that is where that's where the two companies kind of diverge.
I never thought
And
about that. That does kind of make some sense.
yeah, it does make sense, especially with like some. We have some really kind of fruit forward, really funky coffees, and
Yeah.
cocoa and cinnamon don't really describe the flavor notes very well. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so that's a little bit of like the origin story in terms of like what Little Waves Coffee grew out of.
Yeah.
And then in terms of my coffee origin story, it also starts with cocoa cinnamon. So my first specialty coffee job was here with cocoa cinnamon. I started as like part of the staff in, I think, February 2019.
Okay.
Um, and hadn't really worked. I had like, I don't know, coffee was all right to me. Like, I certainly didn't have a passion for it or anything like that. It was kind of like a vessel for caffeine only, which I think is how a lot of people see it.
Hmm.
And then I, got this job as a barista, and I think that we've always had a really robust training program.
Yeah.
So from the beginning, we were talking about like the origin of coffee and chocolate and tea, and
Yeah.
starting to notice that like, oh, coffee can taste really different than what I've had, and it can taste really different from itself under this umbrella of specialty. And it kind of like just that intro training really opened a lot of doors for me in terms of thinking about how interesting coffee can be.
Yeah.
Um, and so I worked as a barista with like on the cafe side until about 2 years ago. And that's when I moved into the role that I have now, which is director of wholesale and education.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like capture that like coffee interest and like the, I guess, the mystery and intrigue, and like
Yeah.
see how I can get other people to be interested in it in the
Yeah.
same way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this past week or two, I was doing some reading on, Coco Cinnamon and Little Waves, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like remarkably, I was just taken aback by the whole bike kind of trying to do.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, so that's before my time, but the like the original bike is at our Lakewood location, which is where our
Okay.
roasting operations are currently. And it's
Okay.
like it's bolted into the floor, which is a good thing, but it's also heavy enough that it's not going anywhere on its own.
On its own
Um,
anyway.
yeah, and like it's fun. Like kids will climb on it and like
Yeah.
pretend to pedal and stuff like that, and it's a cool visual
Mm.
representation of like
Yeah.
how we started, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned, Little Waves kind of came around 2017 or so, and well, I just think it's so funny. I never thought of cocoa cinnamon roasters as as like so now
Yeah.
I
Thankfully, we didn't have to rebrand from Cocoa Cinnamon Roasters. Um, that was
yeah.
definitely helpful.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, when y'all got to that point, I mean, I guess that may have been a smidge before your time, but like, were there other names kind of shot around, or was like Little Waves the like, this is great, you know?
Yeah. Well, we actually we started the roastery started as Fourth Dimension Coffee,
Okay.
and I wish I could speak better to that
Sure.
story, but like we rebranded and like transitioned to Little Waves Coffee at some point like early in my time here, and that name comes from essentially like love letters between the two co-owners. So it comes from
Oh,
a line from a love letter between Leon and Areli about
oh,
little waves rushing up onto the shore.
oh,
Um, but what it means to us in more of like a broad senses about like all of these tiny intentional, it's like tiny intentional decisions that we can make that will kind of build up and
yeah,
that we hope can create some good in the world, right? This like constant gentle pressure, essentially.
yeah. I love it. Yeah, I think that's a really fun one. Sometimes I hear names of like coffee companies, roasters, whatever, and I'm like, how is that not already like who been taken? You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
being found out now. That's a great name, and this was kind of
Yeah.
one of those where I was like, oh, this is like brilliant. Very much so. So I was very happy to just like, have it all of the above. But yeah, anyway, kind of let's talk just a wee bit about the coffees that we got to have from y'all that were absolutely fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
You'll have to
so
remind me now.
I got you. Don't worry. Um,
Wait, it's like a little while ago when we decided.
well, the two coffees we kind of used for like our more approachable coffees were the Rwanda Humure, um, and and then the Kenya
Where the rain
the
sleeps,
rain sleeps. Yeah, so
right?
just kind of just let me know your thoughts on these coffees, how they were received by the team. Yeah, and how's it been going in terms of serving those in the cafe? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, the Humore low oxygen natural, that I think this might be our third year sourcing that coffee. It comes from our partner Bajo Coffees in Rwanda, and we've worked with them for a couple, or I guess several years now. And that has been like a really wonderful relationship. That's a coffee that we've brought to the Specialty Coffee Expo for the last 2 years, just because it's kind of a really lovely standout, super juicy, like really red. I feel like when I cup it, I often taste like watermelon and like tropical fruit punch and like little
Oh
prickly
yeah.
pear. So it's
Oh yeah.
really, really good. Depending on where everyone is when they're drinking it, if
Hmm.
it's still like hot summer weather, it's really nice iced too.
Ooh.
So
Oh,
yeah,
I bet.
really, really good. And that's like a team favorite and has been for a
Oh
while,
man.
just because like it can be so killer, especially as like a pour over.
Oh yeah. Real quick, I think I texted you too. I think this is my favorite Rwanda I've definitely had this year. Possibly like top two or three I've ever had. Um, yeah, like like quite honestly, just super complex, so much going on, just absolutely delicious. I just was so happy. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, y'all knocked it out of the park with this coffee that I was
Thank
like, it's one of those where I like every once in a while we have a coffee where it's like I would pay more for that coffee. And this was one of those, honestly. I would
you.
have gladly paid like maybe double. Like it's just so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to hear that you've now been getting it multiple years in a row because it's just amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we should. I mean, I feel like I would. I'm not the one who does the coffee ordering, but I would love to. I feel like we'd probably get it next year too.
I hope so.
This is also a fun one because last year we had it, or it was reviewed, and I wanted to just pull up the number too because I think that kind of speaks to what you're talking about as well. Yeah, Coffee Review gave it 94 points
Yeah.
last year, which
Mm-hmm.
is which is kind of nice. So,
Yeah.
Emmanuel from Bajo has been just like a wonderful partner in hooking us up with these coffees that really align in terms of like what we're looking for flavor and quality wise, and also often what we're looking for in terms of like sourcing, and like thinking about racial and gender equity too.
Mm-hmm.
We have a different coffee that we got from Bajo that is all women produced, and um, like
Mm-hmm.
like the women come together to do the sorting and the processing as well, um, which is a kind of cool story for that one too.
Absolutely. Well, this kind of doesn't have too much to do with what you're saying, but it kind of does. So I just thought this is interesting. Haley and I, the other GM and myself, we had the opportunity to go to Ecuador about a just a little over a month ago. And funny enough, we're hanging out with Alinka and Diana Veyes, who are just an incredible sister duo that they each have their own farm and they hire the same pickers every year. And funny enough, both of them and Marco, the microbiologist, and like everyone on the farm was like, very much the women pick way better than the men. And, and I like did not see that coming. And they were just like, yeah, the men are just horrible at it. They just pick as much as they can. And it's like we almost only have women to pick coffee because they are so good at it. And it's like I love that. Like
Yeah.
I just didn't see that coming, and I was like, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah, love seeing women succeed in coffee for
oh my
sure.
gosh, sometimes doing way better than their
Mm.
their other gender counterparts, whoever that may be. It was very cool to hear. So I do remember seeing that you guys do have that other Rwanda as well, and I think I remember
Yes,
briefly being like, do I want to get that too?
it it's also. I mean, they'll both be back, but it's
Lovely.
also really good.
Yeah.
And that one is a washed, so it's kind of a nice,
Mm,
I don't know, foil character, I suppose. It's
yeah.
like a nice compliment to the humore because the humor is so like juicy and ripe and like
Oh yeah.
fruity. And then
Yeah.
the Fuji Kizere women is like a lot cleaner while still having like
Mm,
a lot of that kind of pineapple cookie,
yeah.
little nutmeg, lots of
Hmm.
honey.
Yeah.
So next time.
Wonderful. That sounds great to me. Let's plan on it. Well, yeah, and kind of moving on to the Kenya. Yeah, thanks to you, we got it. I wouldn't have known
Yeah.
about it without you.
This is again my bias coming in. I do love a Kenyan coffee, and this one's no exception. I think that the team is really fond of it too. Just
Mhm.
super solid. We've brought in other Kenyan coffees in the past, and this one, it looks like this one will be the coffee for this year.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's really really tasty. I'm hoping that it lasts, like
Yeah.
our stock lasts for as long as it can.
You can just drink
For
it
selfish
all.
reasons. Yeah, I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to be selling it, but I want to drink it all myself. I
Just
want to be
keep it for.
ordering this coffee in like 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I really, really, really appreciated about this Kenya is like, personally speaking, I'm a little picky about my Kenyas in terms of like, if they're almost too savory, this was
Mm-hmm.
not whatsoever. It was like the perfect amount of just like a little bit fun, like herbaceousness to it, but like the tasting notes were spot on. I don't quite remember all of them off the top of my head. But like
Mm-hmm.
I was 100% tasting like blood orange, plum, red grapefruit, amazing chocolate, hibiscus, tomato
Yeah.
sweetness. It was just super just like enjoyable and just like felt like it was just going around in my mouth, you know? Oh my gosh.
Love to hear that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I I had to work a bar shift last week, which is not something I often get to do. And that Kenyan coffee was on espresso, and I was like, let me get at this. Had so much fun dialing it in, like
Yeah.
lots of just like ripe, spicy blackberry. You know,
Yeah.
it was a really good time. It was really really nice on espresso, and
Ooh.
I really love an espresso tonic. And so I was like, that's what I'm drinking today. Definitely.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We funny
Yeah.
enough, when I first started at Comet, we were doing espresso and tonics with it was always with a featured espresso.
Mm-hmm.
And something like this would be perfect to have it with. I think just a little bit more zest and just fruit that would just be fun and spice it up a little bit. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so
Yeah.
good. Genuinely so happy. Uh moving on to the other two coffees that we kind of primarily got the Anna Maria Doniez
Oh, yeah.
was remarkably good. Super, super fun. When I was trying to dial it in on pour over, I didn't realize, I don't know if this is the same for you guys, but I just had to go fine, like finer than I usually go. And then all of a sudden it was like, all right, here we're here. It, it was so good. I was just tasting everything fun and funky, like sour cherry, lemon zest. I wrote down raspberry Jolly Rancher, pink florals, and some spices in there that like reminded me of rum sweetness too. I think that was also one of the tasting notes I
Totally.
wrote for rum. Yeah,
It
just
was like
super fun.
port wine or something.
Yeah, yeah,
It was, I think
yeah.
it was one of the tasting notes.
Yeah, just super fun. Also, very neat to have a coffee that's, I mean, I don't know how much you guys hear of this on the East Coast, but a lot of people in the industry are like, couture are very boring. Do you get that a lot all the time too? Or yeah, yeah. And so, this was a fun couture that was not boring whatsoever.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like one thing that we absolutely love is when a coffee will really surprise us. And
Mhm.
this, I think that coffee in particular is such a good representation of like what we're looking for in a surprising coffee, and also like the kinds of relationships with producers that really invigorate and sustain us, right? So Ana Donace is a like pretty young Colombian producer. She inherited the farm and was not planning necessarily on going into coffee producing. But she has really like dedicated to specialty and like innovation and like really working on um, putting out these coffees that are super unique. And so this is just like a really good example of that. I think also, yeah, like tourists are not necessarily the ones that are sought after, but I think it represents like a really exciting path that our industry can go down in
Yeah.
terms of like having this variety that's a little bit more stable, a little bit easier to produce,
Hmm.
and then really getting something so unique and so beautiful out of it. Like that's something I'm interested in. You know, like that's a future for specialty coffee that I want to invest in.
Yeah.
Um, and then just like her being a like woman producer kicking ass, like
Oh
that's just like extra bonus cherry on top.
yeah.
And so like that relationship has been really fun, and
Yeah.
she's visited us here at the roastery.
Oh my
um,
gosh.
and yeah, it's really really nice and
Wow.
brewed at our booth at Expo.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah, really cool.
That is absolutely amazing. Yeah, briefly, let's talk about kind of just like how you guys, have come across so many like amazing producers, all of the above. What has working with those producers been like, and have you had some favorites yourself? Yeah. Yeah.
um I don't know if I'm allowed to have favorite producers. I think like our relationships are really central in what we're trying to do, right? Like it's one of kind of the key pillars for us. It's like quality relationship impact. Like those are the
Mm,
things that we're kind of like trying to always keep in the viewfinder in terms of um, like looking at coffees. And so Areli, who is our green coffee buyer, she often talks about it as like a farmer's market, like a global farmer's market model, where you're building these relationships with these producers. I think it's important to us to like be committed to sustaining those, right? And
yeah.
so it really helps when we have those more direct relationships and can have those conversations about like how do we navigate these new tariffs, or like how do we share these kinds of like new burdens to make sure that like both of us can exist in relationship in the future as well. And
Mm,
for us, like we totally have an interest in all of these like really experimental or really high end or peak coffees. Like those are exciting to us. Like I think that's part of like the future of the industry, and also simultaneously we have an interest in those kind of daily driver coffees, those
mhm.
like more classic chocolatey caramely cups that really sustain coffee producers and like can help also help specialty coffee exist in the future, right? Because it's there's going to be a market for that too, right?
Mhm.
um, and there already is. Yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just been so neat to see all the producers and like co-ops and guys and things you guys work with. One thing also that I like really appreciated about, funny enough, not that this is like a big thing, but when I went on your website, and we're looking at the coffees. One thing I loved about it is for the coffees from like the Rwanda and the Kenya specifically. I think y'all said something along the lines of like, this is how many producers brought their coffees, they delivered it to this washing station. And I've, like in a way of like I've known that, but like it's never said that way, like you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that was genuinely unique, sometimes obviously it's just the washing station or like small holders from this washing station. So I genuinely appreciated that. And that was something I've never seen before. I mean, yeah, honestly, which was like what a
It's nice
delight.
perspective, right? To be like, oh wow, yeah, that's how many like producing families contributed to this lot. Yeah.
So many. Yeah.
So many people,
Right.
so many hands touch these all of these little beans.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Totally.
it's it is remarkable. And so I that is something I very much appreciated and was like very happy and glad to see that, I don't know. I'm sometimes I see things like that and I'm like, wait, this is great. Why isn't everyone writing it this way? So I I now have a high bar because of you all.
Appreciate that.
Anyway, moving on to the Jose Geraldo coffee. Um,
Mm.
absolutely amazing. Yeah, tell us a little bit about it and what your first impressions were. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this coffee has like a lot of backstory, so you'll have to forgive me to get
No.
for getting into all of it or as much I can. My first impressions, it's like, yeah, it's a pretty remarkable coffee. Just like the florals and the sweetness are off the charts.
Yeah.
And we developed for this coffee, we developed a specific recipe because this is actually the coffee that we sent out with Standard Magazine, issue 37, I believe.
Okay.
So this one went to Standard subscribers like across the world. And it was really important for us that we could like make sure that it's represented um, like as well as it can. So we had like developed a whole recipe for it. Um, because yeah, probably our first introduction to a lot of folks who we otherwise would
Yeah.
not be introduced to. But yeah, this is it's also just like a kind of remarkable coffee on its own. So
Oh yeah.
Jose is another producer who we've worked with for several years now. He's also in Colombia. He's actually in uh, pretty much the same area as Anna Maria.
Okay.
Um, but he essentially took a decade selecting the geisha plants for the sweetest ones and continuing to grow those plants over the course of a decade. So this coffee essentially came to us after like lots and lots of hard work and labor. And it
Yeah.
really shows in the cup. It's like, yeah, pretty remarkable. And it's like, I think also just like such a nice testament to like his vision and his work ethic too, to be like, I'm thinking 10 years into the future.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What am I
Yeah.
producing then? And I think
Yeah.
that's something that like producers in general, like we can learn a lot from them in terms of like a lot of this long-term thinking and again thinking about like specialty coffee in the future and like how how to survive the now but also how to get somewhere in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah,
Yeah.
you were so right. And this coffee was unbelievably sweet and super high acidity in the best way possible. Like truly remarkable. Yeah, just every note on it was perfect. It was I think papaya was one of them. I think peach
Mm-hmm.
mango may have been another. I think
Definitely
white
mango,
some full.
candied lemon.
Yep. Yep.
You said papaya.
Hmm.
Yeah, just lots of like dried tropical fruits. And
Oh,
that's how we served it in the cafe too.
yeah.
Or that's how we serve it in the cafe is with like a little dish of the
Oh.
same dried tropical fruits, which I think is really sweet. So you can really do that like taste back and forth.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, this genuinely was amazing. I even like I just I wrote in and I'll send you this because every time I like send out that like the subscriptions here, I send a little like um, basically I guess my own like recipe for each one and like what I'm tasting and then like a little thing on like what I think about it. And so like I literally wrote like this gesture showcases the capabilities of just fruit flavors and sweetness in gesture. Is just absolutely insane. Also the mouthfeel was just a delight. It felt like it filled just perfectly and it was one of those where I'm able to sit back and just like just be like life is good, no matter what.
Good. That's what you should be experiencing when you're drinking really good coffee.
And like I mean every once in a while I have a coffee that like I prefer either on pour over or espresso. This I liked, I think, equally on both. Just remarkable, a truly remarkable coffee. I was just like, yeah, super fruity, super exceptional. It was one of those where I was just like, I have nothing to say, but this is good. Like,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and we haven't had too many of his coffees. We've had I know at least one of his coffees before from a roastery in Europe from Manhattan, I know at one point. But so I remember really liking it and the fact that like you guys just simply were carrying his coffee. I was like, this is, oh my gosh, I just remember it was good,
Yeah.
and it's still killing it. He is still really doing some crazy stuff. But yeah, and lastly, kind of just touching on the decaf, just an absolute drinkable, just could drink every day decaf. Wonderful. We real quick, we've had a lot. I think this might be kind of maybe the same. We've had a lot of decafs from Elias and Shady, and I don't know if this is the same one, but just absolutely delicious. Yeah. Tell me about yeah.
Yeah, it might be actually. Do you mind if I double check myself?
yeah, obviously.
Because this decaf, we usually rotate throughout the year, of course.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. It also is from Elias and Shady.
Yeah.
But this is like each of the cafes, they have their own preferences with the decaf, but this
Yeah.
is like the overwhelming preferred,
Yeah.
overwhelmingly preferred decaf coffee
Yeah.
among our baristas. And so it's really nice to be able to be like, yeah, hey, remember, you can actually also get a decaf and not regret it.
Not regret it. Yep.
Remember. It doesn't have to be a big like flavor sacrifice. Um, yeah, I think we're well spoiled in that way.
I'm dying. Well, oh my God. Two tasting notes that I really loved about this decaf personally was like I thought there was some delicious apple and pear, personally speaking, that were just like both sweet and just like smooth, just very enjoyable. And so I was just very happy. Usually, well, obviously it depends on the decaf. But this was one of those where like as I was like, trying it for the subscription, I was just like I ended up drinking like more than half of it. And like, like kind of just without thinking. And it was one of those where I was like, all right. I didn't realize how much I liked it, until
Yeah, I do. I do like public cuppings every so often. Like I'll do a coffee cupping and invite whoever from the public in. And I really like to sneak a decaf coffee onto the table because it's all like blind, right? I don't put the labels out. They don't know what they're tasting. I try to give a nice like variety because I think that's part of the point of doing a cupping is like finding out that, oh, actually you did like that coffee. And then it's like it more than once that has been the decaf has been like a couple of people's favorite on the
Mhm.
table. And I'm like, actually, that's a decaf. And it's like the most fun surprise at the end when we're revealing all of the coffees.
Yeah. That's always a fun time when you get to be like, ooh wee.
I
Guess what?
know what your favorite was.
Yeah. was an absolute delight. I was very, very happy to have it. It was very, very tasty. All of the above. Funny enough, when I, send out these little, things that would, you'll get. This is the first time I've written, I guess, this much about a roaster, like just like talking about, because I've just loved the Cocoa Cinnamon Little Wave story. I didn't realize, how I just didn't realize what it was until I was like doing so much reading the other night. And then I ended up writing, it's not a lot, but like compared to like what I usually write, I was like, this is clearly at least twice the amount, if not more. And it was one of those where I had to get to a point where I was like, maybe I should stop. Just because there's a lot going on here, and we already have a call coming up. But anyway, sorry. Anyway, that's to say I've had too much fun.
Good.
But yeah, as one does. So, I think I mentioned to you, I haven't spent too much time in North Carolina, so to speak. So, coming from someone who's been there a while, who's been in the industry and Durham, obviously, probably more specifically, how has it been, or what has the industry looked like out there? Is it, community focus? Is it, do they love doing competitions? Do they just love, like what is it like, and how have you guys, as you've continued to grow, yeah, how's that kind of been?
It's a great question. I feel like this is the question that I ask other baristas when I travel to other areas. And now I'm realizing how hard of a question it is to answer. Just because, like, if you don't have enough points of comparison, it can be tricky.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think my impression is that like Durham and the Triangle, that's like Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, um, is really like specialty coffee rich. We've got a lot of really awesome industry neighbors, and I think probably like yeah, it's just like a really rich ecosystem. So definitely like the throwdowns, the latte art throwdowns are well attended. Um,
Mhm.
I feel like people, it's one of those things where Durham and Raleigh are only like 30-ish minutes away,
Uh-huh.
but it feels really far if you live in one of those places. And people really come out for a throwdown in from one city to another, which is pretty cool. And I think the competition scene, like the more formal, like USCC competition scene, is really like well represented from this area too. And of course, like our neighbors are black and white, and they have their own
Yeah.
competition origin story.
Yeah.
Little Waves had, we just started kind of getting involved in competition. So Mary Carmen, our head roaster, she kind of started getting involved in latte art competitions a couple years ago. And then Mariah, our director of retail, she did Brewers Cup 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Has since been like working on judging to learn a little bit more. So we're kind of just starting to get involved in that part of the industry,
Yeah.
but you know, really supported and motivated by like a really robust coffee community for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite honestly, I grew up in St. Louis. I started my coffee career on the West Coast, and now being back, there's a few people here and there who compete, but I feel like St. Louis really isn't, too much. And I competed for the first time this year and did like remarkably bad. And so I was very much humbled, without trying to be humbled at whatsoever, of just how ill
it's
prepared I was.
it's a lot.
Oh, it was
I'm always
wild.
impressed with everyone who competes,
Oh
just
my
because
gosh.
like the amount of effort it takes to get there in the first place is
Yeah.
like on top of all of the stuff that you already are doing with your coffee job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the crazy thing is meeting all these other people who yeah, they like run their own company or a coffee shop or whatever it is, and man, they just got the drive. You're like, ooh,
And,
ooh,
and they also must have like a really incredible team that helps pick up, pick up some of the slack necessary for them to be able to work on that, and like keeps
yeah.
encouraging them, and like it helps watch their practice run throughs and tastes their different recipes and all of that. I think watching Mariah go through competition was my first um, opportunity to see it that close up. And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, okay, this is not just a lot of work, but it takes a lot of people. Like it
Hmm.
really does take a team. And
Yeah.
so that's also why I'm just like so thankful that we have, yeah, that we have the people that we have
Yeah.
here, like at Little Waves, but also that we have like a really amazing coffee community here.
Yeah.
And Durham hosted nationals for brewers, latte art, and SIGs last fall, or this past winter, actually.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, wow, we're really lucky.
Yeah.
Like the year before it was in like outside of LA. I'm like, okay, this is really cool.
Dude, that's so cool to hear. Yeah. I think I can confidently say like, well, I can. Yeah. I don't know what I'm thinking. I can confidently say St. Louis is growing, it still is, but yeah, it's the idea of like being able to host or have that opportunity of meeting other people in the country
Yeah,
is very neat. And obviously you know that very well, Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So it sounds like you've been in coffee for a wee bit now. You've been doing a lot of cool stuff. In the industry as a whole, do you have, whoever it may be, do you have certain people that like you really look up to or get a lot of inspiration from and you really enjoy? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a lot of people. And in a lot of ways it's like not as many like specific folks, but more of just like the environment that the energy that I feel whenever I'm at an industry event. I'm like, wow, this is a really collaborative industry. This is a really supportive industry. There are people doing really cool things who will actually just talk to you about the really cool things that they're doing
Yeah.
in like a totally unpretentious way, which is really such a treat. And I feel really lucky to work somewhere like Little Waves, just because I feel like
Yeah.
that kind of collaborative and like supportive um, environment that's like here, you
Yeah.
know.
I'm so glad to hear
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I mean, I obviously told you this, but I haven't told subscribers or people listening. But it was just such a delight. The first time we ever interacted, or I don't remember if it was only by email, but y'all have just like every step of the way have just been, yeah, just very kind, very approachable, and it's really appreciated, I mean, obviously that, but there still are some people in the industry every once in a while that I'm surprised that are not as kind, and so it's just been a delight every step of the way with you to just like be chatting and you've been so helpful, and so it's always been just wonderful. So I totally feel you when it's like people in the industry who are just meeting you where you're at and also
Yeah.
just happy to be there.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I think we take what we do seriously, of course, but we try to have fun. And like
Yeah.
I am always just like really touched by the folks who I work with.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, who's doing the hiring? But I know who's doing the hiring, and they're all doing a great job. So
But then you remember, oh, I do know.
how did I get curate all of my daily interactions.
I'm dying. Well, yeah, another thing that you kind of touched on, that I thought has been kind of neat, and I've been seeing now because I think I'm part of y'all's, email list is your training program is, I'm not there, obviously, but like from a distance looks fan flippin-tastic.
Oh, thanks. It's a ton of work.
I I can only imagine. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if anyone. I can tell you for sure we don't currently have any subscribers in Durham because they don't need us because you're there. But, but yeah, why don't you briefly just chat about your training program, and the amount of classes you guys do? It's genuinely. I was like, whoa, this is like a lot. Yeah.
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 Well, yes. For better or for worse. So, part of my job, a big part of my job, is education. And that is something that I was really excited about from the beginning. Because, again, like I experienced that, like, oh, wait, coffee is kind of interesting. And then from that unfolding into, like, oh, I'm really interested in coffee. And I think if you ask like teachers or educators, they'll say that the best way to learn is to teach and to keep teaching, because I've definitely experienced that where I'm like, I know that this is what our team is wanting to learn more about or understand better. And
Hmm.
coffee knowledge is just an endless rabbit hole, as everyone can tell you. There are a
Yeah.
billion things to learn. Um, so it, it keeps me doing my research for sure. And so when I came into this role, I really worked on kind of reinitiating our like professional developments, like
Mm.
one-off classes. It's something that we had before the pandemic and then put a giant pause on.
Hmm.
Um, and so like that was a big focus. That was really exciting for me. But also I wanted to, I just found like over that first year that um, our wholesale partners in particular, like I wanted to make sure that they could get at least all of the basics to get them started. Because there are a bunch of partners that we work with who really love what we do but haven't worked in coffee or haven't worked in coffee for a long time. Um, and and like, you know, there's a whole bunch of information out there. And if I can find a way to like make sure that it feels more accessible, and I know that I'll be there for questions in the future. Um, that was kind of like the impetus for creating the barista training series. So I do like a cup to crop class, which is kind of about like the producing side of coffee, like the farm side and the roasting side, and just a little bit more coffee basics
Hmm.
to really like you don't understand, to like give you the context of like, yeah, it's kind of a miracle that you have this little bean at all.
Hmm.
It's a miracle that that got to you.
Hmm.
Um, and from there, going into we do like an extraction basics class, and then we do like a espresso basics, milk basics, and tie it all together with bar flow. And those are like back to back, like a 3 day series essentially,
Yeah.
just so that you can then go home, sleep on it, come back, and like, okay, wait, what did we
Oh,
learn yesterday? How does it pull into today?
yeah.
And then we follow it up a week or so later with like a more advanced latte art class, because that is really the thing that feels really hard to get in like a one class time period. It's like I'm always struggling with like it feels so hard to be like, okay, you've never steamed milk before, but we're gonna try to pour a tulip.
Yeah.
it's just it's too much. So we focus on milk texture and getting the temperature right, and like those proper like muscle memory of care, essentially, like how do you treat
Hmm.
the machine nicely while
Yeah.
you're using it, and kind of like build towards the latte art stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Man, latte art teaching that and just like learning it.
yeah,
I don't know how you do it. So I'm very glad you're the one doing it. We, you
yeah,
know, well, we don't get too many new employees, you know. We kind of have a good outstanding or long-standing staff, and we're about to kind of open up a new cafe in a fewish months or so. But we're lucky enough to have even like people who come on, they've already worked in coffee, and so their latte art is like decent, you know. But man, every time I try to explain it to just, I don't know how.
yeah. I'm like, it's a lot of practice. Practice a lot, and that will really, really help
Hmm.
a lot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
But yeah.
very, very much
Um,
so.
hey, let me grab my charger really quick.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna finish up with one more question though. Do you think you have time, or do you need to go grab it?
7%. Yeah, let's try it.
Let's try. I think we'll be good.
Let's
I
if it all goes black, then you know what happened.
you are I usually I go like a little bit longer, but like my dog has been barking a wee bit in the background, and I do have other things to get to, so I was like, oh, I guess it's not a bad idea. But sorry, last question. Being at Little Waves now for 4 or 5, 6 years, what has
Yeah,
been that's a long time. That's crazy.
I know.
Wow. What has been kind of one of your favorite or things about being there and why you've just been loving it?
Hmm. That is a really good question. I think there are a lot of things I could say. Um, I mean, I already touched on like the hiring part. I think I know that it's normal in your workplace to like have a lot more tensions, but I really love working with everyone who I work with.
Yeah.
It's like a really, really nice space, and I think a really good like working environment. And like I said, we have fun, and the roasting team in particular is a very small team. It's like 6 or 7 people,
Hmm.
maybe including myself. And there are only maybe like 3 or 4 people in there at any given day. So it's a really, really tight knit team, and they are they're really fun. They work really, really hard. They're yeah, they work really, really hard, but they're always having fun doing it.
Yeah.
And so whenever I go into the roastery, I know that I'm gonna like have a good laugh at some
Yeah.
point.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that. That's huge.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh.
yeah. I think also just in terms of on the cafe side, um, the cocoa cinnamon cafes have been around for over 10 years now. Like the first one started in 2013, right? And it was, I think it was really meaningful and like helpful to me when I first moved to Durham to start by working at one of these cafes. Like I think in general, if you move to a new place and you're a barista, you can kind of like get a sense of what the community is like. But these cafes are like really a lovely community watering hole,
Yeah.
and it was such a good introduction to like, okay, what is Durham? What's going on? Like who's here, and
Yeah.
like what are the people like, and what is the vibe like?
Yeah.
And it was yeah, it was really, really cool to start by being part of this place that is already somewhere where like community organizers meet and artists are like in and out, and just like
Yeah.
a bunch of normal people, a bunch of normal
Yeah.
community people who have been regulars for
Mm,
5+ years or
yeah.
10 years. or who contributed to the Kickstarter before we even opened or whatever it is.
Hmm.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect ending to this. Oh, genuine cries. Love to hear it. Well, again, I can't thank you enough for just taking some time. It means a lot.
This is fun.
I also got to say again, and we should talk about this more. You should come up to St. Louis and do a Little Waves takeover.
I would like that a lot, and we should talk about this more.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We shall, which I think would be wonderful. Well, thanks again for taking the time. This has been absolutely amazing, Mandela.
Yeah, it was good to kind of meet you more in person.
Same. I think we will at the very least probably meet in San Diego of next year, at least, if not sooner. So anyway,
Perfect.
thank, thank you for everything. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we will chat
Thanks.
soon.
You too. Okay. Bye.
That's good. Bye.